What is up guys, Sprout here and welcome to another video. In this video I'm going to be just kind of talking about, with the new expansion coming up, there's going to be a lot of class revamps, a lot of changes going on, and just some of the stuff that I'd definitely like to see done in Arcane to make it a little bit more viable. So let's get to it. Alright guys, so the first thing I wanted to touch base on was the new feature in mod, which was the leveling perks. And these were just, basic enhancements that you got on your abilities. They kept your action bars clean instead of adding another new ability to it for you to, learn and rekey on and all that stuff. And, I love the foundation of them, and one of them I always thought would be really interesting to change up would be the improved blink. Right now, as you can see, it gives a 60% speed boost for 2 seconds after you use blink, and I'm sure that is really handy in PvE too. It's a nice little boost there, but something I thought that would make it a little bit better for PvP wise would be kind of to turn it into like a disengage for a hunter, where I think the talent is called post haste. Basically, I think what that talent does for hunters is it removes all snares on the target or on the hunter, and he can just run around freely with a speed boost for like 6 seconds. And I'm not asking for Blink to be exactly like that. Obviously, there's got to be some discrepancies between the two classes, not just cutting out the same abilities and paste them on the other. So I figured one kind of change it could be is keep the 60% speed boost for if you're not slowed, and if you do have a snare on you, it either like suppresses it for 2 to 3 seconds, or it just removes that completely and doesn't give you the speed boost instead. And I thought that'd be, nothing too overpowered. It would definitely help with arcane mages, kite ability and just survivability, because I mean, like a rogue's crippling poison is always going to be dragging you down, and unless you get somebody to spell it or you really want to ice block it off, you're always going to be kind of at the rogue's mercy with your speed. Besides that, 25-second gap with burst of speed. And another thing I guess I would like to see added back in, spell steal is a really nice heal. It's something you don't have to rely on the channel to get off the heal. It's just kind of something that's there passively you can do most of the time. But I always thought it would still be nice to bring back the evocate heal. It would be something, for those situations where maybe you don't have anything to dispel, which happens, I know, in 3v3 maybe not so much. I guess this would be more of a 1v1 balance, and I think at high-end 3v3 I don't know how much of a difference it would make. I'm sure it'd come in handy once in a while, but it'd just be more utility to bring to the table. Okay guys, so for the talents, I had a lot of ideas. I wrote most of these down. I want to cover basically what I think would be an interesting change. I'm not going to go over every single talent. If something I feel is kind of fine as is, I'm going to generally skip over it, or if it's something I don't really have any ideas for or think it can't really be changed to be better in PvP, I'm not going to cover it. But first tier talent here, obviously we got Blaze Speed as pretty default talent for PvP. Icy Flows really doesn't cover that much. And Evanesce, I've been trying to get into this more. I really like it in certain situations. Others definitely Ice Block is more beneficial, but Evanesce, I mean, personally it would be something I would use more if it were just simply 1 second longer. Like the 3 second duration, I mean, you pop it here and it's a decent length. I mean, you'll get like a cast and a half off with it, but honestly, if it were that 4 second duration, I really feel like a good amount more people would take it up. It's a really nice, alternative against Ice Block that lets you stay offensive. And I don't know, me personally, I mean, 5 seconds, I feel like that would be actually overpowered. I mean, to get that many casts off without really worrying about being interrupted or stunned or anything like that. But I think 4 seconds would be a nice little balance off. The next tier here, Alter Time. Now that was changed. It got a little buff halfway through WoD here. It used to be a minute and a half cooldown, now it's a minute. But the old way in MoP, it was definitely pretty overpowered. I mean, people use it, line up their burst and just do twice as much burst literally, and it was definitely a really strong point. For Alter Time, I feel like if they could make a glyph for this to kind of change it back to the way that it was, but not completely. So my deal would be, if, say, Blizzard implemented this glyph, it would increase the cooldown of Alter Time back to a minute and a half, maybe to 2 minutes, even like that, and it would make it so that if you wait out, like it used to be a 3 second buff, and if you I want it so basically if you wait out the full 3-second buff on it, you can't alter time back manually, so there's a risk of it getting dispelled and all that. But if you can wait the 3, maybe even 4 seconds and then pop back without it, being dispelled or anything like that, then you would get all your buffs back. So it would be some, you could pop your bursts into everybody. You could save the buffs with alter time, but it's nothing you could do back to back. So there would be a gap or a little window for the enemy team to recover. It would definitely be a strong point, but then again, you're taking up another glyph slot, and I feel like it'd be a really nice balance of some. You're giving up a really strong glyph as is, or a really necessity glyph for something that could be really beneficial. Flame Glow, it'd be nice to see it kind of buffed back. I was surprised to see it nerfed, I guess, but I guess it might have been an issue more high end, making mages so tanky. And Ice Barrier. My idea with Ice Barrier, its damage absorption right now is pretty crappy as is, but I thought instead of, just increasing the baseline damage, absorption maybe to like 80 or 90k, that would be any way I'd see it really being viable again. Instead, like increase the cooldown to maybe like 45 seconds, put on par with the Warlock's, Sacrificial Pact. And instead of, increasing the damage it absorbs, when the damage goes away, when the shield is, dispelled or just damaged through, you would get maybe like a 2-second immunity for a spell, like interrupt spellcasting or whatever. It wouldn't be on while your Ice Barrier was there, like you wouldn't get immune, to all interrupts. But as soon as the Ice Barrier breaks, it would give you like a 2-second buff, just something to, make it so you can't be interrupted. Kind of like the old school Ice Block glyph that used to be used, like, you'd be immune against spells, which would basically make you immune against spell interrupts. Okay guys, so the next tier here, Ice Warder and Frost Drop, I definitely, think they definitely have their beneficial, they're pretty obvious strong points. Nothing really too much to change about those. But Ring of Frost as Arcane is definitely kind of, a talent that's not chosen too often. Maybe in RBGs is really where it's only beneficial as kind of like a path blocker in tunnels. But Ring of Frost, you don't have your Dragon's Breath, you don't have your Deep Freeze to kind of guarantee that the Ring of Frost is going to hit the target. You just got your slow and hoping to God that they all move out of it before they see it, casted. So pretty much my idea was to toss this talent out, replace it completely with another spell here, and I'm going to read this out to you guys what I wrote down. It's a bit long, but bear with me. So Ring of Frost would be replaced with this name I came up with, Ring of Temporal Break. And what it does is, it has a cast time just like Ring of Frost, similar cast time. I didn't really bear down the details on it on the cast time and the cooldown and all that. But basically what it does is, while you cast, pick up Ring of Frost, kind of show you guys what I'm talking about here. While casting, be like casting a Ring of Frost there, and while it's being casted, any target in that area would be automatically slowed by about 70% speed. So that's baseline. When you're casting it, they're slowed. That's kind of the ringer to get you caught inside there. Get that joke there. But basically, you channel this spell, and while it's being channeled, everybody in it is slowed by like 75% roughly. So what happens though when it's finished casting, if you're stuck inside of it after it's completed and everything, it'll last for 10 seconds like Ring of Frost. It'll be an affected AoE on the land and everything around it. It'll slow all movement speed inside the ring by 90% for enemies. And also kind of obviously, what does it do to casters, and how can it really help CC healers and all that. It's not going to make them, completely, out of the game. It's not like they're going to be able to do nothing. They're not frozen in ice and black. So what it'll do is, it'll increase all casting speed, and basically, my idea with this was basically all haste, so even melee, if you're stuck inside the ring and there's a melee on you, he's going to be doing definitely reduced damage. But basically increase all haste by 75%. And as long as you're in this ring, the maximum you can be affected by is about like 5 or 6 seconds or something like that, and the ring will last on the ground for 10. And it'll just be something, it'll have that initial slow on the channel, so it won't be that easy for people to escape out of it unless they have like a blink or something like that. And that's the thing, if you get caught inside this and you're a mage, you are going to be able to blink out. That first glow is going to be reduced, but you're not going to be completely helpless, so it's not going to be really like overly powered. I didn't want to make it too strong compared to Ice Ward or Frostjaw, but it'll definitely be a really nice option for, you know, kind of more team control. But yeah, like I said, the other two really don't see any real change for those, but that's my idea. Let me know what you guys think. I was really, you know, I was pumped. I was acting like this was going to be implemented in the game. It probably won't, but I thought it'd be pretty badass if something like it would be. So, on to the next tier. Cold Snap, don't really have anything to say about that. It's pretty strong as is. Don't need any nerfs or buffs. I think it's in a pretty good place. Cauterize, you know, the health bonus you get from it nowadays is pretty low. The only suggested change I would have to this would be increase the health you get from instead of 35% up to about 60 to 65%. And make the internal cooldown, right now it's 2 minutes side. You could keep it at that. I guess it's kind of a nice medium between the 3-minute ice, cold snap, and the 1.5 greater viz. A 1.5 internal cooldown would be nice, but you know, it's not something I'd be upset if they didn't put it in. It's just mainly the health buff, and keep the burn kind of as is, where it'll burn away about 80% of what you get. Greater in viz, the only thing with this is the 3-second, you know, 90% damage reduction after you come out is nice. I just feel it really isn't that long. Like, by the time the enemy gets you retargeted and even casts a spell into you, that 3 seconds is going to be well gone. So I mean, thought a small buff to maybe 4 or 5 seconds of that would be pretty nice. And the only other thing I'd suggest changing would be, back in the old school days, there used to be a glyph for invis that would increase your speed by like 60% while invisible, and that'd be kind of nice if they made something similar to that baseline, or even kind of like I was talking about the blink earlier, just have it when you go greater invis, it removes all snares on you. Yeah. Next tier, Nether Tempest. I kind of liked it the old way. It'd be nice if something like that was glyphable. Maybe it really wouldn't change, I don't think, arcane mages that much. The only way I would see it being helpful is if arcane got more like widespread damage. Like Nether Tempest, just dye everything up and you have more consistent damage to kind of follow it up. It would be nice maybe to pair with an Affliction Lock or a Boomkin a little bit more. But other than that, yeah, not really sure. That was just just an unstable magic. I don't even want to talk about it. I wouldn't know how to change that to keep it balanced in PvE and make it more viable in PvP. And Supernova is generally just fine. So next tier here, mirror images. You know, definitely I used to like using this a lot. It used to be baseline, now it's a talent. They did buff the cooldown on it from 3 minutes down to 2 minutes when they made it a talent. The only thing I'd like to see change with this is the mirror images health is pretty low as is, so I mean they're really relatively easy to kill. So I feel like the only real, you know, change I could see made to this maybe more, just obviously make your mirror images have a little bit more health, you know, a little bit more survivability. I mean, freaking hunter pets are tanks and warlock pets are tanks, and I mean, it'd be nice if our little pets or guardians or whatever you want to call them would be a little bit more tanky while they are around. And the only other thing I'd like to see change to mirror images, you know, is if they'd implement the slow glyph on them like passively. So when they cast Arcane Blast on the target, it's going to automatically apply slow to them. Rune of Power, I know for PvP it's never really been a solid option. The only thing I'd like to see maybe change to it is when you place down your Rune of Power and, you know, you're inside of it, you get the buff and everything, and you know, life is dandy. You got that 50%, 15% spell power. But it'd be nice to see if maybe when you step out of the ring, it would give you like a 7-second or a 10-second, maybe not 7 seconds, that seems pretty short, but maybe like a 10 to 12 second buff that you get to keep your passive 15% spell power damage, and be just some that, you know, maybe, I don't know on the exact duration, but that's generally the idea of that, kind of change it up. A little bit more damage, a little bit more control over it, so you're not constantly waiting for your encounter's flow to kind of line up good bursts. You can kind of use this to rely on a quick power up for your burst mode. Alright guys, so on the final tier here, these talents, I'm a fan of pretty much all of them. The only one I want to cover first is Overpowered. It's not really something I use too much. The only way it's to be decently viable in PvP is obviously with the 2 set, where you can basically spam spell steal to get your arcane or not arcane power, your arcane missiles, charges and whatnot, to kind of keep that up a little bit easier. But just I thought a nice little baseline buff to this would be you know, along with the 2-second buffs and all the other buffs it gives to the different specs, is just increase, you know, your basic the baseline ability that's affecting. Like, say it'll increase kind of arcane power and icy veins the same, in the sense that it gives like 20 to 30% more of a duration already, and that'd be a nice little buff to it. Combustion, I wasn't really sure how I'd make it affect that as much. Maybe just like a baseline, make it the combustion burn for 3 seconds longer, so a little 30% buff for that, but just a nice little baseline buff to what it's already affecting. Prismatic Crystal, love it. It's really fun. It kind of definitely has that decent skill cap. It's something when you can pull it off, it just shines, and that's what I love about it. The only thing I'd really like to see change with this is like when actually yeah, I'll do it. So Prismatic Crystal, I'd really like to see it taken off the global, because a definite big issue is by the time you lay it down, there's that short global where your enemy can move out of it. But another thing I like to see, like if I could cast slow on it, it would make like the slow an AoE spell, so everybody within 8 yards would get slowed, and that'd be a nice little buff. I think would, you know, benefit to it to a degree. But more than anything, I guess if they took it off the global, it would just be that much better. It wouldn't really need that slow AoE buff. It would just make, you know, that much better for getting a kill, and, you know, not worrying about somebody moving out your range, kind of like Ring of Frost has that similar problem. And yeah, Arcane Orb. Now this one, I had a thought about for a while. It's a simple buff. It's nothing too crazy. And it's basically a knockback. So Arcane Orb, you know, when it's thrown in, it would basically, you know, push back all the enemies a good 5 to 10 yards or something like that. And another thing that I'd really like to see change with this to kind of make it more viable, it's just more utility, is to take off the global, or basically simply a Supernova Arcane Orb combo. You know, you Supernova somebody into the air, and then while they're up there, you use Arcane Orb to kind of push it back. It's just more viability, you know, more, I don't want to say viability, but more control. It's more options, I guess, for what you can do as Arcane, because you're already pretty limited. And it would just be, you know, that nice little extra CC, because you can't really kite forever with slow. If the enemy's slow, chances are you are too, and they're going to catch up to you pretty quickly. And yeah, the only other thing I really want to cover was Blizzard. You've made Dark Soul and Paladin Wings undispellable. When's Arcane Power going to be undispellable? Because that is like all of our damage output for kills right now. We don't have good consistent damage outside of it, and it's on a short cooldown, but I mean, come on, when it gets dispelled, that's pretty much GG. I mean, Shamans are locking this down. I think it'd be, you know, not too much to ask, you know, to make our burst a little bit, or, you know, maybe buff protected. We do have this Arcane Focus from the 4 set, I believe, something like that. Yeah, and it's a nice little coverage buff, but it's only one, so it'd be nice to see some more viable add to Arcane Power coverage. But other than that, I think that'll pretty much be it, and I think that's all I got for you guys. So you know, hope you liked the video. Put out a lot of change suggestions out there. If you like some of them, let me know. If you thought something might need to be changed to kind of scale better or be balanced out, let me know also. So yeah, and until next time, guys, this will be Smart Out. Peace.